You're listening to Real Life, No Filter, where raw emotions and real moments take center stage. No masks, no filters. Just honest stories about life, love, and everything in between. Get comfortable. We're about to begin. Morning for Chloe started unusually early, and her mother drove her to school. Another family quarrel had deprived her mother of sleep, and to pass the time until she met her friend, where the traditional picking apart of the father was planned, she hurried to drop off her daughter. Nothing unusual, the usual routine. Having gone up to the second floor, Chloe headed towards her classroom. By the window stood an unfamiliar girl in dark clothes. Ah, this must be the new girl. The one Chloe had seen yesterday with the teacher. Quite pretty. Should get acquainted. Just in time. After Maya left, a void had formed in their group of girls. Now Chloe would assess her, see how she carried herself, and perhaps this girl would become their new friend. Approaching closer, Chloe smiled welcomingly. "Hi, I'm Chloe. You must be the new girl? Saw you yesterday. What's your name?" The girl flinched and shrank back upon hearing the address, but noticing Chloe's friendly face, she smiled back uncertainly. "Hi. Yes, I'm new. My name is Sophia." Her voice turned out to be quiet, but surprisingly melodious. "A fitting name for our group," flashed through Chloe's mind, "and we'll teach her to speak louder." "Where are you from? Did you move? Or did your parents divorce? Why did you transfer specifically here?" Sophia replied quietly, "No, I didn't move. My parents didn't divorce. My dad passed away. I live with my mom. This school is just closer to home, it's more convenient." Chloe nodded understandingly. "Yeah, convenient. I live far away. Commuting every day is such a pain. I usually get driven, either by mum or dad. Depends on whether they're fighting or not. Does your mum have a car?" Sophia looked away. "No, mom doesn't have a license." "Oh, that's bad. She needs to get one. Nowadays, every woman should know how to drive. Let her get it, and then she can teach you. I'll get my license right away at 18. Dad promised to buy me a car as soon as I have my license. Can't wait." Sophia glanced sideways at Chloe and smiled faintly. "Yeah, that's great. I want to too." Chloe adjusted her hair. "What iPhone do you have? 12th? 13th? Hope it's not the 13th. I only have the 12th yet. I want to be the first with the 13th. "I don't have a phone. I lost it. Mum hasn't bought a new one yet." "Not yet," Sophia mumbled awkwardly. "Oh, excellent. Hope she doesn't buy one this week either, because Dad promised me the 13th on Saturday, and then you can buy one." They stood like that, mostly Chloe talking, and Sophia listening with noticeable admiration. Chloe, of course, noticed this. "Excellent. The new girl is quite suitable for the role of a friend." Soon, other kids started arriving. Chloe took Sophia under her wing, introduced her to everyone, and everyone was friendly towards her. For the first lesson, Sophia sat next to Chloe. The day went surprisingly smoothly. Sophia quickly found common ground with everyone. She was happy that she fit into the group so easily. Everyone turned out to be so kind. Chloe invited Sophia over on Saturday. A slumber party was planned with the initiation of the new girl into friendship. It turned out that Sophia drew beautifully and was very good at it. And one guy, Ethan, promised to bring her some special pencils his father had brought from abroad. He clearly liked Sophia and wanted to impress her with an expensive gift. "They're awesome, you'll see. I have 2 boxes. I'll give you one. If you like them, you can order more. Your mum can." I'll explain how later, my dad told me. Ethan hovered around Sophia all day. The girl was on cloud nine. She had been so afraid of this school, so prestigious, with children of rich parents. And here everything had turned out so well. For about a month, everything went perfectly. Classmates were friendly. About her mum, Sophia said she owned a cleaning company, but in another city. Nobody was surprised. Many parents had businesses in different places. But then something happened that fundamentally changed the attitude towards Sophia. It happened exactly a month and a half later. They were let out early from the seventh lesson. Sophia hurried to the restroom. Chloe and her friends said they would come later. They needed to talk to the teacher about grades. It was Friday. The school was almost empty. Sophia dropped her backpack and entered the restroom, bumping into the cleaner in the doorway. The thin woman flinched in surprise, dropping an empty bucket. Sophia cried out and crouched down to pick up the fallen rags. The woman had an exhausted face with deep wrinkles. Not from age, she was only 35, but from grief and hard labor. She worked many low-paying jobs to support herself, her daughter, and her sick, disabled mother. This was Sophia's mother. She worked as a cleaner at this school. "Oh, honey, they asked me to come in earlier today to prepare the assembly hall." Sophia frowned sharply and hissed, "I asked you not to call me that here. You promised to pretend we didn't know each other. Please don't do that again." "Mom? That's your mom? Your mom is a cleaner?" A voice came from behind Sophia. Sophia turned pale. Slowly turning around, she saw Chloe and her friends. The girls' eyes widened, and then they looked Sophia's mother up and down with contempt and disgust, noting every detail of her shabby appearance. Sophia hoped this fact wouldn't affect their relationships. After all, she had already made friends with everyone. But her hopes were dashed when she met Chloe's gaze. In that look, Sophia saw such revulsion and malice that she understood. It was over. There would be no more friendship. Silence fell. The bell could be heard ringing. Chloe stirred, stepped back, gesturing for her friends. "Okay, we should go. I have a party tomorrow. Need to prepare with my friends, Isabella and Olivia." Chloe emphasized the words, "my friends, Isabella and Olivia," making it clear that Sophia was no longer included. It was over. The girls hurried out of the restroom, giggling and whispering. Sophia knew they were talking about her. The girl stood, her shoulders slumped powerlessly. Sophia wanted to become one of them at this school. There was a faint hope that Chloe was just offended. In the evening, Sophia would call her from her old phone, which she didn't carry to school, and ask her not to tell anyone. Maybe Chloe would agree to keep this shameful secret. Even if she wasn't Chloe's friend, at least the other classmates would treat her the same. Sophia turned to her mother and shouted angrily, "I warned you. I told you if this happened again, like at the last school, I don't know what I'll do. You ruined everything again. How I hate you. You've ruined my whole life. Everything was going so well. And you again, as if on purpose." The woman clasped her hands. "But I didn't mean to, Sophia. It wasn't on purpose. I love you more than life itself. Please don't say that." Sophia grabbed her bag and ran off, leaving her mother alone. All evening, Sophia called Chloe, but she didn't answer. And then a message came. Chloe wrote that the party was still on, and they were waiting for Sophia tomorrow evening. Sophia was on cloud nine. So they forgave her? So they would still be friends? Not everything was as bad as it seemed. The next day, Sophia arrived at Chloe's on time. She had prepared a whole speech. She wanted to convince everyone that a cleaner mother meant nothing She wanted to tell her story about a rich father, an accident, an uncle who took everything, about a mother without education or means, with a sick grandmother and a child. The girls should understand that she wasn't to blame for the poverty. But one of the most terrible disappointments awaited her. Had she known what would happen, she would never have come. When Chloe let her in, Sophia saw all her classmates. She immediately suspected something. They weren't supposed to be here. Everyone looked at Sophia and was silent. She turned pale, her mouth went dry. She couldn't speak. She wanted to run away, but her legs wouldn't obey. And then Chloe's voice rang out. "Dear classmates, I want to reintroduce you to the new girl. Our acquaintance started with a lie, and today we will correct that. Today there will only be truth." Sophia looked at Chloe, her pleading gaze trying to reach her friend's heart. But Chloe looked mockingly into Sophia's eyes and loudly, for the whole house to hear, proclaimed, "Meet Sophia, the daughter of our school cleaner, the floor washer, the queen of toilets, the businesswoman of a cleaning company. Welcome to our humble party in my humble home, O toilet princess, heiress of a miserable wretch." Everyone burst into loud laughter, pointed fingers, whispered. Everyone, absolutely everyone, looked at her with disgust. Chloe had managed to turn everyone against her. Sophia backed away. She couldn't be here anymore. She turned to run before she started crying and heard behind her, "Yes, yes, go away. You don't belong here. You have no right to have fun in decent homes where respectable people gather. You should only clean toilets, like your mother. Although, if you want, you can clean mine. I'll even pay you." It was Chloe shouting. The classmates heard and laughed, many agreeing with Chloe. Sophia ran out of the house. She ran for about 5 minutes until she was far enough away, slowed to a walk, and then stopped altogether in the middle of the street. There were no tears. There, at Chloe's, she had wanted to sob. But now the tears had gone somewhere. Something had changed in Sophia. She suddenly understood how pathetic the people around her were, for whom only money mattered. Compared to them, her mother was an angel, a queen, the richest woman in the world. And this woman had raised a strong spirit in her. Sophia would no longer chase the approval of these nobodies. She would become herself and achieve success. She would no longer beg her mother to transfer her. She wasn't afraid. She was on her own, and no offensive words or actions would hurt her anymore. Now she would go home, apologize to her mum, and tell her how much she loved her. And then she would go to this school, paying no attention to anything. She was sure she could handle it. Her heart was now behind a stone wall that no one could break through. 15 years passed. Another class reunion. This year, almost the entire former 11th A gathered. Their homeroom teacher was seriously ill, and the students decided to surprise her, to get together. Life happens. You need to appreciate every moment. They gathered at the school, in their classroom. Everyone was adults now, greeting each other, hugging, laughing, reminiscing. Mrs. Davies wiped away tears, happy for each one. In half an hour, they were supposed to go to a restaurant. Suddenly, an incredibly beautiful and elegant young woman entered the classroom, dressed luxuriously, but without ostentation, which immediately caught the eye. Chloe, standing nearby, enviously examined the jewelry on her hands, the fur coat. God, a fortune. Who was this? Did she mistake the door? Clearly younger. But then Chloe met her gaze and froze. Something painfully familiar. And then the girl, looking intently at Chloe, approached gracefully. The click of expensive suede boots echoed through the hushed classroom. Everyone watched attentively. Coming close, she said quietly but firmly, "Hi, Chloe. Don't you recognize me?" Chloe recognized that voice immediately, the same as 15 years ago. Sophia, the daughter of the school cleaner. How? Sophia, Chloe whispered uncertainly, not knowing what to add. Sophia smiled. Yes, you recognized me. I haven't changed at all, have I? Chloe was silent. Sophia turned away and went over to Mrs. Davies. They hugged, talked for a few minutes. All this time, Ethan couldn't take his eyes off Sophia. He remembered how he had demanded his pencils back when he learned the truth. He hadn't wanted to, but his classmates insisted. He had been a coward, afraid of becoming an outcast. When Sophia finished with the teacher, others approached her. They asked cautiously, afraid, but curiosity won. They learned that Sophia lived in America, married to a very rich American for 8 years now. She herself was not poor either. A successful and famous designer, she had even been shown on television, under her husband's last name. She worked with famous people, attended prestigious events, was acquainted with Hollywood stars. Her mother had been living with her in America for a long time. Sophia bought her a house, and her mother had happily remarried. Sophia hadn't planned to come to the reunion, but it happened that she flew to Moscow for a couple of days and decided to visit her hometown. Everyone was in shock. How? The daughter of a cleaner who grew up in poverty. None of them, even with rich parents, had achieved such success. Many lived ordinary lives. Some classmates married penniless guys. And Sophia had achieved everything herself, and even settled her mother. Some asked how she managed it. Sophia replied, "I worked hard and paid no attention to those who tried to humiliate me. You know that from school. I stopped being ashamed of my mother when I accepted myself and my background. I realized I could achieve anything, and so it happened. There's no secret, no." When everyone was ready to go to the restaurant, Ethan quietly approached Sophia. "Come with us. I've already called a taxi." Sophia shook her head. "No, I can't, even if I wanted to. My plane is in an hour. I need to get to the airport. The car is already waiting. It's time." Ethan walked her to the car. The driver waited patiently, opened the back door. Everyone watched, many with unconcealed envy. But Sophia didn't look at anyone. She held out her hand to Ethan, and he shook it. "Will I ever see you again?" he asked hopefully. Sophia smiled sadly and shook her head. "Unlikely. Nothing ties me to this city. I flew in today on impulse. I realized it's not worth it anymore. Goodbye." Sophia was getting into the car, but she paused for a second and turned back to Ethan. "Ethan, thank you for the pencils. Even though you took them back later, they played their part. Thank you for everything, even for the complete ignore. I was once in love with you, and I'm glad we weren't together. Otherwise, I wouldn't be so happy now. Goodbye." Sophia got into the car, leaving Ethan. He watched after her for a long time, even after the car disappeared around the corner. He thought about the girl he had once loved, and who in 40 minutes had left a huge mark on his heart.